Our next talk is on professionalism and social media. This is one of our Breakthrough Learner series, and it is an incredibly important topic. It is one of the fastest ways to derail your career before it ever even begins by being unprofessional on social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You can completely sabotage yourself, and you can sabotage yourself years in advance. So consider all that hard work you're doing now and you're going to be doing, all sabotaged by a couple of tweets you made when you were in high school. It is a nightmare scenario, and hopefully after this talk, we'll have you equipped with the tools that you can really go back and do a thorough audit of how professional you are on social media, and hopefully clean up any problems that you may have. Even better, hopefully you'll learn something so that you just don't have those problems in the first place. So let's begin with why this talk is important. Now there's a story recently, you may have seen it in the news, about a young resident at the Cleveland Clinic. From 2011 to 2017, this resident made anti-Semitic tweets saying that she'll give all the Yahoos the wrong meds. And that was in reference to her Jewish patients. In 2019, these tweets came to light. She not only lost her initial residency, but also a second residency, and has been subsequently barred from medicine. As is the natural consequence for making hateful anti-Semitic tweets like that. Now, this talk isn't on how to not be a racist. If you are a racist or if you're anti-Semitic, you should just stay out of medicine. It's not the place for you. This talk, that story is to scare you a little bit, hopefully. And this talk is to say, hey, this person made tweets from 2011 and 2017, and in 2019 they came to light. So think about that. That's an 8-year period. That's all pre-med. That's 4 years of college, 4 years of med school, just starting a residency, done. That's it. $400,000 in student debt for med school plus her undergrad. She still has that, but she doesn't have a medical career, and rightly so. If you threaten to give your patients the wrong medication based off of their anything at all, you are saying something which is, I would say, is irredeemable. You are held to a high standard. Even jokes like that are utterly unacceptable. So back to the talk. When you post on the internet, even if you think it's hidden from sight, things will return to haunt you, especially if they're vile, racist, anti-Semitic, and unbecoming of a physician who people expect to trust for their lives. Now, when we're teenagers, we do dumb things. We say things we don't mean. We are really driven by peer pressure and a lot of social input. And if you grew up in this time with Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and putting stuff out didn't feel like reality, it felt like a separate area unconnected to reality. Now that you're older and now that you're more mature, it's time to really look back and say, hey, is this what I believe? Does this represent me well? If not, you gotta get rid of it. So Yale Medicine has a great definition of professionalism. Professionalism implies that students serve the interests of patients above self-interest. Professionalism includes honesty, respect for colleagues, faculty, staff, peers, and behavior in public that is not embarrassing to the ideal of a physician. Continual self-reflection about one's attitudes and behaviors must occur as one strives to be a better physician. They didn't say professionalism only happens when you're at work. They didn't say professionalism only happens when you are wearing that white coat, or that you get a blank ticket when you take the white coat off, or when you go home, or when you jump on Facebook. No, professionalism is 24/7 because of the profession that you're going into. You're a physician when you go home. You're a physician when you're at the hospital. Now you may think to yourself, hey, I'm not a physician yet. I'm a pre-med. I want to be a physician though. Well, you are going to be judged. Your character is going to be judged to see if you are mature enough to carry that mantle of responsibility. This isn't a light switch that gets flicked on once you hit medical school. This is something you want to display through your character and your behaviors early on. So here's a little test. It's called the Future Perception Test. You may be thinking, I'm just a pre-medical student. How does all this talk about the ideal physician relate to me? But it does. Here's the Future Perception Test. Don't judge your behaviors in the now. Take your behavior today, fast forward 30 years into the future, and ask yourself, if I did that exact same thing, if I said that exact same thing, how would others judge me? And this is 30 years in the future. You are a physician now. You have 20 years of experience under your belt. You have a reputation. You have a house. You have possibly some of your student loans paid down. You have tons of patients. You have a huge, huge panel of patients. How would those patients judge you if you posted that exact same thing 30 years in the future as now? Would people think that your posts, behaviors, actions, attitudes, or mannerisms are unbecoming of a physician? Consider this. You're going to be treating and taking care of people from all types of backgrounds, with all sorts of vulnerabilities and disabilities, and when they are at their most vulnerable. Do you think that they would put their care into the hands of an individual who just a few years ago posted a hateful comment against them? Do you think that they'd trust a physician who made comments like that? Or do you think they'd trust a physician that had biases against different populations? As a future physician, you're going to be held to a higher standard than pretty much any other profession. And I think that if you're like me, that is part of the reason why you wanted to go into medicine. Part of the allure is to take on that mantle. But it comes with this responsibility. And so you really have to think to yourself, that higher standard applies all the time. Make sure you're behaving like a person worthy of everybody's trust, both online and offline. Social media is fantastic, but I know many physicians will often delete their Facebook accounts, or they'll create a Facebook account under a pseudonym, or they'll scrub their Twitter, they'll bleach their Instagram, they'll do all these things because they want to be careful for two reasons. One, they don't want to say something accidentally, which could offend people. And that can happen. And two, you know, they want to keep their personal and their professional lives separate. So the thing I want you to focus on is the offending people part. If you put up immature, stupid, or vile things that you said, even as a child, but now you've matured and grown up since then, do yourself a favor and sanitize those accounts. Or better yet, don't even be the type of person who puts that sort of stuff up. In this writer's opinion, being a physician is a privileged, sacred, and solemn duty, and we should never allow for racist, sexist, ableist, homophobic, and so on perceptions to creep into our beings, because if you believe those things, there's a risk they will manifest in substandard care of your patients, or you'll start thinking the wrong thing. There are a tremendous number of studies showing that minority communities have really been underserved by physicians because as physicians, we assume certain things, and that needs to change. Even if we're not actively assuming it, subconsciously, we're running a risk here. So as a med student, myself, I've been very, very careful to try to go with a blank slate when I'm treating patients. And I hope I can, and I plan on continuing to do that as a physician. So applications milestones. Any social media transgressions, anything you've posted on social media, expect almost a hidden. when you're applying for medical school, when you're applying for residency, those institutions put a lot of risk into bringing you in. It looks bad if, like that story I related to in the beginning, comes to light. It looks bad for the medical school, looks bad for the residency, it looks bad for the profession in general. So they are going to look at your social media. They are going to investigate what you say, how you act online, and they're going to make a judgment. It's better that you clean up your online presence, and that if they Google your name, that a whole list of bad stuff doesn't appear. And don't think you can outwit them by using a screen name or something, something to hide behind. It's not that hard. If your screen name appears on your Facebook under your Twitter handle, I can then take the screen name and I can Google search just for that screen name, and I can find that you belong to some Reddit community that makes fun of low-income people or something like that. It's easy. It is easy to trace. It is easy to track and hunt down people and their information. Just don't do it. Just be good. You need to start thinking about behaving professionally online ASAP. So never forget about this future profession role, because you are the future of medicine. I've hopefully scared people a little bit here, but for a good reason. I want people watching this to become doctors. I want you to become good doctors. I want you to become the face of medicine 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. This is your future. Represent medicine well. Represent the profession well. Represent other medical students well. And always ask yourself, is my social media behavior worthy of your future patients' respect and trust? Do you respect your future patients, no matter their backgrounds or lifestyle? If the answer to either of those is no, then you may not be cut out for medicine, which is a scary thing to say, but it's reality. Hopefully I haven't scared you too much, unless you needed to be scared, in which case you're welcome. So on that note, this wraps up our lecture on professionalism and social media. Now, Project BreakThru, we are a mentoring website where you can learn more about topics like this. You can register an account for free at pbthru.com. And our mission is to empower people and remove the barriers to medical school. And we'll always be a largely free site. We're 100% free right now because we're in beta, but we're always going to be 99% free because we don't want to put up barriers. We want to take them down. If you're getting up to apply for medical school, create an account, get a mentor with us, and here's some steps to doing that. And right around now, I believe some magical floaty stuff is appearing on the screen for you to subscribe and like to our channel. Please do. And I'll see you in the future BreakThru Learning videos. Bye, everybody.